May we welcome Wayne County Manager George Wood to the studio. Sir, it's an honor. How are you doing?
Thank you. Good to see you, Wayne.
Good to see you as well. Gee, the last board meeting went smoothly, and it went rather quickly.
Yeah,
what's going on with that?
Well, there weren't a lot of things on the agenda. It just happens that way sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes you work on things, and the timing is such that you're still working on them, and so they're not quite ready for the board.
Right.
I think the next meeting will have a number of key things on there. But you're right, this one was very light.
Well, and I'm not complaining. I mean,
I wasn't either.
Let's touch on a couple of things. I want to talk about the. Do we want to cover the 911 situation? Yeah,
we are in the process of working with an architect to design a new 911 center. There are several reasons for that. One is that the state is now requiring that every county have a secondary 911 center. They call them PSAPs, Public Safety Answering Point.
Okay.
So if you hear the phrase PSAP, that's a 911 center. And so they're requiring now that we have a backup one. So we would need to have a new one and have our old one become the backup. That's our plan. But the real reason we're going forward with it is we're kind of landlocked. I guess you call it building locked. We are in the Jeffers building. Mm-hmm. We have about 6 seats in there for telecommunicators, and we've looked at whether we can expand it. It's not possible. The architect looked at that first to see if we could do that. But our problem is the call volume continues to go up coming through the center, and we can't get any more people in there. We can't get the consoles physically in the room. So we had a study done on that. They documented what we need now, but just as importantly, what's the growth trend on the call volume? Because everything is based on how many calls do we receive and do we have to deal with.
Right.
So when they did that, we really should have about 2 more people around the clock right now. So the only way we can address that is to have a new center. And that's what we've been working on over the past roughly year. And the architect has come back recently with a schematic design on that. We approved that. The board approved it at the first meeting in February. The only other issue remaining at that time, Wayne, was what wind speed design were we going to use. The building code requires a minimum of 110. Some places use 130 because this is a high priority building, and it has to stay there. I mean, it is the guts of what we need to do.
And we're also prone to pretty bad storms in this
area. That's
right.
You know, we've got hurricanes and tornadoes. Yeah. So, and then FEMA actually recommends 200 miles per hour. Our facilities committee met, discussed everything, and we felt like 130 was reasonable.
The higher you go, the more expensive it is.
It is, and that's the real issue, because you are hardening the building more in terms of the walls, the roof, and some of the windows. So yeah, it can be from 110 to 200 was over $400,000 difference.
Oh wow!
So from 110 to 130 was about 180 more,
yeah.
And that's what we decided to do. So that decision will come before the Board of Commissioners at the first meeting in March. Once they vote on that, we'll make the architect aware of that. But he's already continuing to work on the plan. He just said he needed a decision on that within about a month. So that'll meet that criteria for him. Again, we agreed on the floor plan, as you know. The council did, or the commission did. So everything should be ready now to move forward with that project. We hope to have everything fully designed late summer, early fall, and then get that out for bid.
We saw the plan. The plan looks really good.
Yeah.
And also the plan is to perhaps add 2 more operators.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
What about future expansion beyond that?
Well, the telecommunications room is designed to handle 17.
Oh.
Because this is the way to look at this is a 40-year to 50-year building.
Right.
So you build the space, but you don't buy all the equipment. All that equipment is very expensive. All the wiring is in the floor, and it has a sunken floor with all of the wiring in it, and then we have the tiles that you can just pop up and easily access everything. So we can add or reconfigure the consoles any way we want to, and all the wiring will be there.
That's nice.
So you do that. It's built for 17. Now, 1 or 2 of those initially will be for training. So it won't be a full-time telecommunicator on that. But immediately we'll need to go to 8, and then probably 1 for the training. So when we first move in, we'll probably be at 9, maybe 10.
Okay.
But we'll be able to go to 17, which would mean we could handle almost, it would be well over the 6 that we have now. And then in addition, next door, it's just separated by a wall, it's the same flooring concept and everything else. We'll have the Emergency Operations Center. And this is where the key people, both public and private, who handle emergencies go to. For instance, when we had the hurricane, we activate the Emergency Operations Center. Those people come in. For instance, we'll have a representative from North Carolina DOT, we'll have somebody from City PD, City Manager's office, my office, all the various entities, the Sheriff's Office, EMS, all of the responders who are dealing with the situation there. And we also have places for the electric utilities, which are private companies, but again, they're such a critical infrastructure. We need them there so that we've got somebody anything we need to find out from them, we can go to that person and they get the information for us.
So that will actually be set up in the...
Yeah, it'll be set up in the 911 center.
That is great.
And the other advantage of that is that the way we're designing the building, with the sunken floor on that, we can actually later on, 25 years or whatever down the road, if we are outgrowing the other one, with that done, you can add another 6 consoles to that. So the total would actually be not 17, but 23. So we feel like with the growth trends that we're estimating and everything, that this should cover the 40 or 50 years we'll be in the building. And the way we designed it is then if they ever moved into the EOC as part of the telecommunications, then we can build a new EOC addition right next to it.
Oh, wow.
So all of that's been pre-planned.
Where is this located?
It's going to be behind our facility services operation. We've got some acreage back there.
Okay.
Back behind the animal shelter.
Right. Okay. Out off Corporate Drive, I believe.
That's right.
Off Wayne Memorial Drive.
That's right. And we've checked that for making sure it's high enough ground. One of the things obviously we looked at, the best proof is in a major storm. So I had Kendall check it during the hurricane. I said, "Tell me
how convenient.
What's happened?"
Well, his office is out there too.
Yeah, that's right.
So
and the good news is it was dry.
It was dry in that area.
But we're also going to elevate it some.
Okay.
We're going to bring some fill in and get it up there. But we think everything will be fine there, and the architects do. So we're excited about that. I think it'll be a big improvement. And when they do that, Wayne, you'll recall that we have just approved new software with Spillman Company for the 911 dispatching, emergency medical services, the Sheriff's Department, as well as the detention centers.
Right.
So all of that is upgraded software. It's all integrated. So for instance, when the 911 dispatches a call, when the Sheriff's Office takes it, if they have to do a report, an incident report, or then if the incident report also leads to an arrest, you have to have an arrest report. Then if we take them to jail, you have to have a booking into the jail and a booking report. All of that is integrated. And so for the general public, the advantage of that is we don't have to keep doing all of these reports by hand. You don't have to do them, keep populating the same basic information, because once it's in there, we've got a file on that, and it just continues to build on that.
Well, that is nice.
It really is.
There's a lot of discussion about the cost of this. Now, we know it's expensive,
but it's expensive.
The software is expensive.
Software is expensive, and the thing is, it's proprietary software. It's designed specifically for those functions. But the other thing is, we were paying maintenance costs and things on the existing software. So actually, some of the cost is offset by what we were already paying.
Right.
So I think we ended up, it'll be about $130,000 more each year. But given what it does, the sheriff's confident that we showed a savings for 1 or 2 people. He's confident he can probably save more than that.
And in fact, you described the software and about what it'll do, but it will actually do a lot more than that. In the field, when an officer is calling on a residence for whatever reason,
that's right.
It gives immediate information about who may be inside.
It does, and that's the real benefit of it. You know, for instance, it'll be tied in with outstanding arrest warrants.
Oh, beautiful.
So, you know, you may get a call, let's say, to a domestic dispute between a husband and wife or something. You really don't know what you're walking into, but when you can, you know, plug in the address, it populates who it is, and then it starts looking for what have we got. And so any previous criminal activity, criminal records, things like that, outstanding arrest warrants, and that way the officer, before they knock on that door, have a better understanding of what am I dealing with. Yeah. And so that goes to officer safety, which is big.
Thank goodness for that. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Now, let's move on to the EMS. We have had a lot of growth in EMS here lately.
Right.
People, and in fact, the calls are increasing.
That's right.
Response times are being looked at. Where do we stand with that?
We are doing what's called a station location study right now. We're almost through with it. We're working that through our facilities committee right now. And what we're doing is evaluating all of our sites. One of the things that's driven that, Wayne, is the Seven Springs one we leased from the rescue squad down there. It flooded, and so we immediately had to evacuate out of there during the hurricane. And we're not going to go back into that because this is twice that's happened, obviously Floyd and now Matthew. So we're looking at a new location there. We also have some gaps in coverage right now. What you shoot for is to try to have an 8-minute response time to 90% of the population. Okay. And we've got some gaps. As y'all know, we put, I think the EMS was put together from a bunch of different rescue squads and things, I believe, in the mid-2000s. So at that time, what was done was, which is the correct thing to do, is they used a lot of the existing stations. What we're doing now with the growth we've had, with losing the Seven Springs stations, we said, let's evaluate all of them and see what we've got. So it's going to come back and tell us we need to relocate a few. We also need to build at least one in the northeastern part of the county. But all of that we'll be dealing with probably in the next 2 to 4 weeks and make some decisions. We are very appreciative to the Elroy Fire Department. They have allowed us to lease part of their bays. And so we have relocated temporarily that Seven Springs station to Elroy's number 2 station, not their main headquarters station, but their number 2. So we appreciate that, but we need to get a permanent home for that. And so once we determine how many we need, you know, we'll nail down the property. In some cases, what we're looking at, we already own it. Others, we may have to go purchase some. Once we get all of that done, then we'll do one contract for however many we need. But I do know that the study is showing we only need to add 1 station and crew. But that the rest of them already have the crews. It's just the cost of the building. And these are relatively inexpensive buildings, maybe $300,000, $350,000 each. Added to that is we're going to have 2 or 3 where we add an additional bay, and that is for the non-emergency medical transport.
Oh yes,
yeah, I think the public remembers that Johnson Ambulance Service went into bankruptcy. I believe it was back late spring, early summer. We had to immediately jump into a large expansion of Wayne Net, which is our non-emergency medical transport division. And we've done that, but in doing that we had to add some ambulances, and we don't have places literally to put them, to park them at night and keep them out of the cold and that sort of thing. And that makes a difference because you've got certain medicines on there that need to be kept at a certain temperature and all that.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is adding to those. We'll add some bays to some of those stations, and those Wayne Net vehicles will then be taken care of. So that's kind of the last piece of this puzzle of what we inherited there.
Now we have not. We don't go into Johnston County, do we? What happened to Johnston County, Johnston Ambulance Service in Johnston County?
No,
that's another. That's another thing altogether.
And let me clarify that too. Johnston Ambulance Service was actually a private company. They were in 17 counties in North Carolina. So all 17 had to basically do what we did. So it is not the county ambulance service in Johnston County. That's a county-run operation.
Right.
But we feel like we've done a good job of absorbing that additional volume of calls. I think everybody's been satisfied with how it's gone. I give our people a lot of credit. They came up with a plan on it in less than 24 hours.
Yes.
So and then it was solid. You know, we tweaked a few things here and there, but it was a solid plan. We've executed it, and I think that's gone very smoothly, considering how rapidly we had to move on that.
We had to move very quickly. Now, the Johnston County, the Johnston Ambulance Service did operate in Wayne County.
Yeah.
So that business that they had here
went away.
Went away.
And what we had to do was basically take over that business.
Right.
They had a number of large convalescent home clients, and then other clients that might need a trip, for instance, to dialysis or something like that. And so we feel like we've got all of that covered now. So there really is no other ambulance service in the county now except our EMS, and our Wayne Net is a division of that.
And I understand that, as you mentioned, it's non-emergency transport, so if somebody does have to go to dialysis, then Wayne Net is used. However, Wayne Net's also a backup for our emergency ambulance service.
That's correct. And that's another reason we want to get them out into these stations, because we can put them at key locations. And that's a good point, because if one of the ambulances is out on call and they don't have a call scheduled, they could take an emergency call. That's right. Excellent. And then like in the hurricane, where a lot of these non-emergency calls, the doctors aren't open or things like that, they automatically can fold into our EMS because they're full paramedic trained people on a fully equipped ambulance. So these folks are just, they're not in an emergency situation, but I guess what you'd call them is medically fragile. It's not, because otherwise if they were going to dialysis or something else, they could take Gateway.
That's true.
And so we do a lot of medical, non-emergency medical appointments and things with Gateway. But if it reaches a certain level where they want to make sure they've got medical attention there en route, then they can use NEMT.
Man, we got everything covered, haven't we?
We pretty much do, yeah.
That's great.
And Gateway does a great job in meeting all those needs.
Okay, one more thing I want to ask you about, and that is our fantastic Ag Center, the MRAC, the Maxwell Regional Agricultural Convention and Convention Center, is moving along beautifully.
It really is, and just to remind everybody, you can go on our website, and we have a button right there on the home page, and you can see drone pictures of the whole thing going up. Kevin Johnson from Cooperative Extension does that for us. I don't think there's anybody more excited about the project than Kevin.
He is, that's
he's
true.
moving his offices over there. So he takes his drone up there about every 2 or 3 days, and it does a great job of getting that up for us and getting it on the air. So, but we had a recent meeting with the architect's representative and also the contractor. Everything's on schedule. We're still looking at a March 1 of 18 opening.
Okay.
And they're doing a great job. The walls are going up. Within the next 30 days, they hope to have the walls up and the roof on the office building part, the ag part. and that's where Kevin and his people will be going. So people are really going to see some big changes coming out of the ground now.
That's great. Well, we're all excited about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a great addition to the community.
All right. County Manager George Wood with an update of what's happening in the county. George, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Wayne. Appreciate it.